Welcome to United Jews channel.
Do you think California is leading the country in terms of the policies? Do you think everyone is looking at California and wants to become California, or it's the opposite? What do you think? What kind of example does California give to people right now, to Americans?
Well, let's hear the conservative people first.
Well, if I told you how many people are discussing moving out of state, you would be surprised. And
yeah, Michael, I just, I am conservative, and I see it from inside. Yet, the kind of confusing thing for me is a lot of people do want or already live in California, yet when they come to another state which attracted them, probably because of that state's actual conservative politics, they actually remain pretty progressive, and they still vote um, as Californians. I noticed that it's very prevalent in this movement in a lot of people. They still think, they move to Texas for obvious reasons, and then they put on their, I have some uh, acquaintances that put on their Facebooks that turn Texas blue. That's their solution.
well, surely it hasn't been a political reasons that have them moved. It's something else, right? Why go to the red state and then vote blue unless you're a spy or unless you're just an agent of influence, so to speak? Right?
No, they moved because it was cheaper to live there.
Exactly.
They
So
sold very expensive house and they bought cheaper house, and the rest of the money, or they have a job or everything, and but they still vote
Well, I
California.
mean, if these people are liberal in their views, they should remain liberal in their views. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about people who want to move out in a large degree due to a political climate in this state. So
Yeah.
they want to be out of here because they can't stand it here for this
Okay,
reason.
that pretty much me. That is,
Yeah,
I am.
I am talking about those.
Yeah, I understand why I'm going to move in the near future, and where, and that would be me. But yet, there's a lot of people don't realize that don't pay attention. Why are they moving? You know.
Well, as we used to know, there's a sausage immigration and a real immigration, right? The sausage immigration, you go for the better food and less tax and just better living, or you go for some other reasons.
Correct.
So,
Mhm.
so
Daniel, are you
then
planning to move?
you would be surprised if you know how many people I know that are considering this.
I quit being surprised because I never thought I would be thinking about moving, and I am now here, and everybody around me who like remotely can imagine moving, they're dreaming about it. Yes.
Same here.
Yeah.
I'm interesting to hear what Dan
what is
has to
stopping
say.
you? I mean, that's a question. I have a friend in New York, and that's one of the people that I stopped talking to because he got completely nuts, really, unfortunately. But he was, I'm sorry to use that word, he was bitching about liberal policies in New York for the last 15 years because he was living there, right? All of that, he was saying everything that de Blasio did was wrong. Everything was just boondoggle, spending money. The crime was, on the rise. The streets were littered with trash. Everything was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And he still lives in that city and does great, okay? Because he works in the VP on one of these, financial institutions, and he's breaking a lot of cash. and while keeping this highly critical attitude. And I was asking him when we were talking, hey, Walid, if I'm not so happy here, why don't you move? I mean, there are plenty of red states. You'll be, a good farmer. You can, grow chickens. You can go to, to the synagogue. You can do, you can own guns. You can do whatever you want, right? In the red state, you'll fit in. And why don't you move? I never get an answer, but I know the answer because of the job, right? Because in a large liberal cities, there are better paying jobs. These days, you can work a job in a large liberal city or Silicon Valley and live elsewhere. That's an advantage. You can move and keep your job. But I mean, money talks, right?
Correct.
That's the conservative way. So, to go back to the question, I think it's a really mix, right? You cannot say California leads America. It leads America in some things which really important for me, such as clean air, innovation, technology, and I wouldn't call education one of them. Unfortunately, there's some bright spots, but some good universities, obviously, that I'd like my kids to go to. In the UC system, there's some really good schools, but of course, not all of them are. I'm pro legal immigration. I think California has a good opportunity to lead the nation in establishing the normal regulated sane immigration policy. Versus tug of war, of complete right sort of or left-wing solution somewhere in the middle. I think it has a chance, and I think it's really good for immigrants. I mean, specifically Bay Area, right? I haven't lived anywhere else. I cannot tell how would I be treated in Nebraska or Omaha or somewhere else. But I know some people who did, and since we're all Jewish, I can say these people were not particularly happy.
So let me ask you.
They missed the.
Yeah, and then I have a question for that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a question. So I was just interesting to hear your view. So do you, are you happy with the fact that this state has largely created an atmosphere that makes it really unpleasant for the people of the conservative bent to live here? Not the sausages. The sausages are good, right? And the weather is good, everything else is good. But does it bother you that the society, the atmosphere in society has become such that people feel compelled to actually up and leave for this reason? And if yes, then yes. If not, what would you do differently?
Well, I'm against intolerance of any kind, right? So if somebody feels uncomfortable in the society that surrounds him, whether you in California or I would feel the same way in Nebraska or elsewhere, I would suspect you will feel the same way in Nebraska too, by the way. It's not right, right? The question is why, right? Do you feel that, you personally been attacked, not physically, of course, but you're afraid of sharing views, you sending petitions if you feel strongly about something. I signed, for example, I signed a petition against renaming schools in San Francisco. That's another stupid PR action that I'm a liberal, but I'm against it, right? I signed it, no problem. That's my conviction, right? Anybody prevents you from activism? I don't think so.
Yes,
now,
they do. Yes,
you may feel.
Yes, we feel that it does. Yes, especially in the workplace. So many companies, many large companies in the Valley have a very toxic atmosphere when it comes to this. So yes, that is true. It's not a physical attack, but I don't know what other people will say here, but I feel that I am kind of a little bit afraid to speak my mind.
People
In
don't
True.
want to join
Me
because
too.
they are afraid the employer would find out. People don't want to join this forum because they are afraid that employer will
Mhm.
see it
Correct.
some way.
Find out about what?
About
But
Their
expressing
views.
our
real views.
political views. Yes.
Yes, I was told it many
And
times. I am inviting people. I really am asking people, please come and talk. And they say, you know, if we're together, drinking tea together, whatever coffee, I'll tell you all about it. But I will not come and I will not say anything on a recorded Zoom session because I don't want anybody to see me at work. I don't want at work anybody to know what I really feel. I hide it as much as I can at work.
okay.
So I've heard it
Hmm.
so many times, so many times.
Yeah, it's like it's been in the Soviet Union. It's kitchen politics. People talk politics in the kitchen privately.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So does it bother you that this state has come to this?
Yes. It bothers me. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm asking Dan.
Yeah.
well, I would bear. I mean, you're a little bit older than me, I assume. You probably remember that at times of talking in the kitchen better than I do, even though I remember too. Um, I don't necessarily agree with that statement, but I don't have enough data to support it because I've been working from home. I changed job recently. I had to because there was a downsizing. I joined another company, all through Zoom. Um, Nobody asked me any questions about my political preferences or anything like that, right? Not on the HR interview. And, there's been to celebration of diversity. For example, there's a Black History Month going on right now, right? So I can, share. We got an email. My company celebrates Black History Month. Good. That's the extent of it. Generally speaking, I try to separate business and politics because this is really kind of common sense thing. You don't know, what political preferences are. Of course, in the Russian Jewish community, they're predominantly yours. Okay, Russian Jewish community over a certain age group, to be specific. But I think you guys exaggeration. Okay.
No,
honest
let me
opinion,
tell you.
okay?
Let me tell you something. Where I live,
Okay, tell. Okay.
our neighbors. I mean, this guy is an American. He's not even Jewish. He's a red-blooded American, 100%. They run a conservative poker game where people come and they can freely talk. He invited me. He said, I know that you want to talk about these things and you can't. So people come there and they discuss these things at this poker game because they feel that they cannot talk about it to other people, to their neighbors, because their neighbors would feel bad about them and they would get looks and they would get maybe, I don't know, maybe even a stone in the window, So yes, it's happening. It is happening.
Well, okay. Again, it's not a Totalitarian society, right? So there's no big brother, he's not watching you, right? So the prevailing liberal orientation does not mean that you cannot have your views, right? Now, again, if I would live in Nebraska or Arkansas, right, and I would go, and support BLM, for example, right, I probably won't be looked very favorably upon, right, something like that. So it's all a matter of environment. I think in general, I would totally agree with you guys. Tolerance has diminished to the point of almost zero on both ends. And the more extreme you get, the less tolerance people have.
True.
Agree? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this is something which I believe, and I hope that you will agree, we have to work on, because it's very easy to say, hey, we disagree on XYZ, you're an idiot, I don't want to talk to you, right? It's not you as a person, it's your views that we disagree with, right? It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. This has been lost in translation, especially for the last 4 years, because the people get very polarized. And, you know, I'm not going to put any particular blame, but, you know, I'm firm conviction that, you know, our former president has played a big role in this, but not only him. It was on the both sides, right? I think what is really, really needed going forward is to be able to listen to each other like we're doing now. And not to immediately dismiss what you say because it doesn't fit my narrative or my things don't fit yours, but try to see, okay, you know, that's how that person views the things. That was his perception. You know, everybody's entitled to perception. What can I do about that if I care? Right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You should get an invite to that poker game, I feel.
That would
I
be
don't play poker.
interesting.
My poker face is non-existing. I cannot do poker face. I'm very emotional, so I cannot do that.
Daniel, you
Well,
mentioned something.
You're doing pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel, you